Hey, what's going on, you guys? Mr. Mooney here. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've been listening to a shit ton of Beatles records lately. Tonight I listened to a brand new copy of Let It Be that I picked up today after school. And I also listened to Abbey Road and the American Meet the Beatles. I've always talked to you guys about how much I love this band. I've even mentioned a few times about like my favorite songs and some of my favorite songs from each of the members and stuff like that. But I haven't really done a full-on Beatles video in ever, really. I did a shitty little video last year called Let's Talk About the Beatles, but that was a really short video and it wasn't really satisfying to me. And so I figured I'll be like every other music reviewer on YouTube and actually do a full-on video about everything I own Beatles related. This is probably going to be a very long video once again, lucky you. But if you're a Beatles obsessed maniac like I am, I think you're going to find this very entertaining. I'll save the vinyl for last because I want to keep it over there. I'm just going to go through all of my CD copies of things that I have, just because I think it's just cool. This isn't necessarily going to be a discography review or anything like that. I might like talk about little like historical things about each album and stuff like that. But just so you know, just to clarify, I don't hate a single thing about any of these albums. They're all perfect to me, except maybe the Yellow Submarine soundtrack, Side B. It's a required taste if you want to hear the orchestral side of that movie, the score by George Martin or whatever. But it's fine. You know, I love every song on the A side. Yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about the Beatles, huh? Like I said, it's going to be a long, long video. I got lots of things to say. And I have all the stereo remasters of all of the albums, and I also have all of the American releases. Some of them are from the Capitol 1 and 2 backlog that they released back in the day. And some of them are separate copies that were released in the American box set. The stereo remasters were all released like this. I also did not buy the box set for these. I collected all of these separately. This is Please Please Me, their first album. This is the UK release. It comes with a nifty little booklet, liner notes, and beautiful pictures. These are what I consider some of the best releases in recent years of Beatles remasters. I actually had a copy of the 1987, a few copies of that for Abbey Road and Rubber Soul. But after these came out, I replaced them because the packaging was absolute bullshit on those 87 versions. It was just like, the back cover was just like white with just the track names, and it was just shit. It looked terrible. This is actually, you know, full color photos. It actually resembles somewhat the actual LP. I'm hoping to get the mono box set, the vinyl mono box set of these guys. I know it just came out just a little while ago. I hope I can get it for Christmas. That's what I'm asking for anyway. But anyway, Please Please Me. It only took the Beatles 11 hours to put this album together. That is insane. 11 hour studio time, and bam, it was done. And everybody knows this, but John Lennon actually had to save the song Twist and Shout, the last song on this album, for last, because if John had sang that song first, he would have killed his vocal cords. They did two takes of Twist and Shout, and they went with the first one. So the version that you hear on the album is the very first take that they took of that song, which is kind of interesting. You know, usually it takes bands a few tries, a few takes to get an album right. And soon after that, Capitol put together their own albums for the American releases, and so America got Meet the Beatles as the first album, which in a way kind of has a one-up on Please Please Me in my personal opinion, because it has I Want to Hold Your Hand opening it up, and that 1-2 punch of I Saw Her Standing There coming up right after that. So this album had two like huge hits back to back, and This Boy, you know, it had an unreleased song at the time. It's on Past Masters, but you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I think Meet the Beatles might be the better listen to me personally. The American first album rather than the UK first album. It's just a personal opinion, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. A different track listing. This actually has a copy of the stereo and the mono versions. The first 12 tracks are in stereo, and the second 12 tracks is the exact same album except it's in mono, so that's pretty cool when dealing with that. Yeah, and next up is the UK release with the Beatles, their second album, which in my personal opinion is like in my top 5. The cool fold-out sleeve like that. Once again, these are all stereo 2009 remasters. These were the albums that I got when I got into the Beatles back in 2009. Some of the liner notes and some of the cool-ass pictures in there. Cool poster and stuff like that. Adverts and stuff like that. This is one of my personal favorite albums. The first album was kind of like a Please Please Me was kind of like a an album of just the recordings of songs they would play live. Kind of the same as this one. You know, there's still plenty of covers on both of these. I just think it won't be long, and All I've Got to Do and All My Loving are all kick-ass rocking songs. You know, there's Hold Me Tight. You know, that's a classic one too. I just think some of the best early days of the Beatles, some of their best songs were on with the Beatles, and I think it's a shame that Beatles Rock Band only has I Want to Be Your Man from this album, because there's so many other rocking songs on this thing. Please Mr. Postman, their cover of that, oh my god, it's perfect. And for America, we had second album. Quite a creative album title. This one also had a few things that were included in Past Masters on it, which is pretty cool. Thank You Girl. Let's see, Long Tall Sally, I'll Get You. That was great. This also has She Loves You on it, which is probably a good benefit for some people. So yeah, this is what America got once again. Has both stereo and mono mixes on it. Great little thing. I wish I had gotten the US box set of these, because it has like realistic like LP, like it has the flip back covers on it, and it resembled like a tiny vinyl. But sadly I got the crappy Capitol box sets, box set 1 and 2 for my birthday, and I just used that to help me collect all of the US albums. So that's pretty great. Moving on now to the third album, Hard Day's Night, which once again is a kick-ass little record for the soundtrack to the movie. Interestingly, you know, we're getting into the part of the Beatles' career now where they had just conquered the earth. They've flown over to the Atlantic, conquered America, came back. We're about to shoot the movie. We're about to shoot Hard Day's Night, and they had to put this album together really quick to coincide with the movie. So they recorded the 7 songs for the movie, and then they quickly recorded 6 more, I believe. Yeah, 6 more to make up the album. So it's just perfect. I mean, great collection of songs. Hard Day's Night, I Should Have Known Better, If I Failed, I'm Happy Just to Dance With You, and I Love Her, Tell Me Why. Tell Me Why is definitely one of my favorites. Just a rocking song. Can't Buy Me Love, a little overplayed, but still amazing. I also think I'll Be Back is a really great closer. Amazing. There was a huge difference, though, in the American release of this, which I'll show you in a second. I forgot to open this one to show you the inner pictures and a little bit of the booklet, which is, once again, awesome. There's George Martin right there with the guys. Probably one of the most famous producers ever because of this group. So that's pretty amazing. But like I said, there's a huge difference though when you look at the American version on the motion picture soundtrack, because there are vocal cuts. There are cuts that are just like on the regular album, and there's also instrumental cuts. So like you had a copy of I Should Have Known Better instrumental version on here, and you also had the vocal cut because it was just used as like a background for the movie. You know, like characters will be talking or running around, and like you'll hear the song in the background, but it has no lyrics because it was just used as the soundtrack. So there's a huge difference between the two Hard Day's Night releases. America got a little screwed over, in my opinion. I don't listen to this one a whole lot because I just prefer the regular ass songs and not just the instrumental versions. But being a Beatard, I had to own it. You gotta have that shit. You know, I'm still trying to collect myself some of the rare vinyl things that have came out. But yeah, Hard Day's Night, amazing record. Amazing record. Feel like America got a little bit screwed having some of those instrumental versions on there. But whatever. Next up we have Beatles for Sale. Probably, in my opinion, one of their weaker albums. And I think a whole lot of people really agree with that. So yeah, this had a No Reply, which in my opinion is kind of a weak opener. Still an amazing song. Still an amazing album. You know, I'm not saying anything bad by that. I shouldn't have said that, because I still love this album. I still listen to this fucking thing. You know, like I listen to all of these all the time. You know, it's just not as great as the other ones. Once again, Beatles for Sale. That's a good picture of them in the studio. Sitting there. But yeah, amazing album still. Amazing album still. You know, you can't. It's the Beatles. You know, it's whatever. Like, even if you buy another copy of this album, hey, you got a Beatles album. Who gives a shit, right? I mean, I'll Follow the Sun. Beautiful song. 8 Days a Week, obviously. Words of Love, their Buddy Holly cover. That's really great. What You're Doing, that's amazing. Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. Amazing closer there. We also have here Something New. I'll Cry Instead. Things We Said Today. When I Get Home. A few things that were on Hard Day's Night album, actually. A few songs on here. Along with that, and also the I Want to Hold Your Hand, the German version, closes out this album with Matchbox. This was an American release. Something New. And go along with that, I'll go ahead and talk about this one as well, Beatles 65. This one was kind of like, this album was kind of like America's version of Beatles for Sale. Because it had No Reply, I'm a Loser, Baby in Black, Rock and Roll Music, I Follow the Sun, Mr. Moonlight, Honey Don't. It was basically the same album, really, except it had I Feel Fine on it, which you could only get on Passmasters before. So the American release might be a little bit better. I'm not sure, you know, it's just a personal preference thing. Still the Beatles! No matter what you pick, it's amazing. Okay, let's get back to the UK, once again, with Help, which, the movie to this was not that good. I mean, it was amazing to see the Beatles running around in color, finally. Hard Day's Night was amazing. Okay, I forgot to mention that. The movie Hard Day's Night was killer. I have that thing on DVD. I love it. But Help, the movie, not so good, but it was cool to see the Beatles in color. But yeah, this right here is another one of my personal, like, big-time favorites, because I love kind of the down-tuned, more sensual songs that were on this thing. Another Girl, I Need You, Got to Hide Your Love Away, The Night Before, You're Gonna Lose That Girl, one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs. Ticket to Ride, Act Naturally, It's Only Love, You Like Me Too Much. The whole thing is just amazing. Yesterday is on here. That's great. The UK got the early Beatles, which is basically just Please Please Me. It's just a collection of some of the first songs that they had. I mean, I guess they felt like America didn't get a proper one of these, so they pushed this out right quick. I mean, you know, it's good. It's basically just Please Please Me with a different track listing. So if you enjoyed the early Beatles, then that's what you got. Alright, jumping back to the UK here. Rubber Soul. I had a 1987 CD copy of that, which was basically, the back of it was nothing but white, and it was just the track listing, nothing special. It was terrible, but now this has the awesome photos, the cool-ass Rubber Soul symbol with the track titles there. Amazing, colorful, bright, kind of glossy is the word, I guess. Inside cover, that's a great inside picture there. I like that one. That's from the I Feel Fine music video. That's pretty great. Actually, I don't think I showed the inside of Help. Hang on. The inside of Help is cool because they filmed part of the movie where this picture was taken. Sorry, I forgot that. Little bit of the Rubber Soul booklet here. This right here, when I was first getting into the Beatles, was one of my favorite albums from them, and it's still one of my favorite albums. There's a few albums I like better than it, but you know, Drive My Car, Norwegian Wood, You Won't See Me, Nowhere Man, The Word, Michelle, What Goes On. What Goes On, great rockabilly song, sang by Ringo, really cool. I'm Looking Through You, In My Life, what a beautiful song. Run for Your Life, that one's kind of funny. Just an amazing album. Amazing record. It was great. And in America, got the Beatles 6. This one was kind of like once again, there's a few songs on here that are from Help, that are from Beatles for Sale. Kansas City, 8 Days a Week, You Like Me Too Much, Bad Boy, which is another song that you can only get on Past Masters. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, Words of Love, What You're Doing, Yes It Is, Dizzy Miss Lizzie, Every Little Thing, great little compilation right there. Yeah, that was amazing. Alright, now this right here was kind of like the turning point, in my opinion. Well, before I get into that, I guess I should talk about the American version of Help. This one here also is kind of like the kind of like Hard Day's Night American version. There's a few instrumental tracks on here, and one song that's not even featured anywhere else except on here. That's in the Tyrol, which whatever, you know. It's just I don't know. I feel like America kind of got screwed over with this one as well. And also, I guess I should go ahead and mention the American Rubber Soul, since we just got done talking about it. This one is basically the same, except I've just seen a face opens up the album, which is on Help in the UK. And it also has It's Only Love, which is also off of Help. Because they saved the songs Drive My Car and Nowhere Man for the next album in this collection, Yesterday and Today, which we'll get to. But still, amazing little collection. How the track listing is put together on the American version is still really good. Alright, well now, let's get back into the UK and talk about their weird stuff. Revolver, which is once again regarded as one of their best albums. Not to me personally, it's still amazing. Do not get me wrong when I say that. I love every single one of these albums. I feel like I'm coming off wrong. It's still great. One of the best rock and roll albums of all time. It's really, really cool. I love the pictures in this one as well. Some of the booklet. This is where the Beatles started experimenting and started changing a little bit. This is they had recently stopped touring. Well, soon after this album, actually. Yeah, the song "I'm Only Sleeping" that appears on here has like the first instance of like backwards guitar. George Harrison actually really carefully played his solo in that song because it's reversed on the song "I'm Only Sleeping," which is great. In America, "I'm Only Sleeping" was also released on Yesterday and Today. makes it one of my favorite American releases, but we'll get to that. I Love You Too is one of the first instances of George Harrison playing a sitar in the group, apart from playing it on Norwegian Wood and Rubber Soul. I Love You Too, personally, I think is like their first real Indian song before Sgt. Pepper came along. Yellow Submarine is on this one as well. She Said, Good Day Sunshine, Got to Get You Into My Life, one of Paul McCartney's biggest ones that he still plays live a whole lot of the time. That's a great song. And Tomorrow Never Knows, which in my opinion is like John Lennon trying to do a weird like Indian psychedelic song. Revolver is where they started to get weird. I feel like that happens a whole lot like when I think of like Blur. When I think of like Blur's self-titled album, because that's when Blur started to get experimental. Let's keep it in the UK here with the Beatles, Lonely Hearts Club, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This right here is regarded as one of the best albums of all time, and it's personally one of my top favorites as well. The entire album is just a complete package, total change of sound, amazing flow, one of the most epic songs ever written, A Day in the Life, ending out this record. Sgt. Pepper, the Lonely Hearts Club Band, it flows right into With a Little Help from My Friends, which is also sang by Ringo. Ringo was actually a little bit timid at singing that song, especially the last note of the song, which is odd because it's not that high to me, but he personally thought the note was a little high for him, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, it's just amazing. Amazing album. There's actually, at the end of the track, in The Day of the Life, right after that famous crashing piano chord right there at the end, there's like a high frequency sound that can only be heard by dogs. The Beatles thought that was really interesting. Another thing about this that I'm looking forward to when getting the mono vinyl box set is it actually comes with the little stickers and patches that the Beatles wanted to include, and the photos and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see that. All we had here with the Stereo Master is another booklet, which explains a whole lot more than any of the other booklets in this collection. There's actually like a whole thing written in here by Paul McCartney. Right here is actually a picture of the insert that you got. These were all like things that you could like punch out. Like this mustache right here, you could punch that out and like put it on. This is like one of the first times that special like little prizes were included inside of CDs and stuff like that. They did that again with the White Album, putting in those like huge color stock photos of them, which sadly in my vinyl copy I did not get because it was used, and I'm sure somebody just took those photos. So soon after Sgt. Pepper's, still staying really psychedelic here with Magical Mystery Tour. This one's really interesting too, because Magical Mystery Tour was a movie that the Beatles did all by themselves. It had absolutely no script. It had no plot. The Beatles just turned on the camera and went fucking crazy. The movie, once again, like Help, is, in my opinion, kind of lame. But, you know, the Beatles are in it. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it, but the music is fucking fantastic. What's really interesting is the main songs on here. Magical Mystery Tour, Full on the Hill, Flying, Blue Jay Way, Your Mother Should Know, and I Am the Walrus all made up the soundtrack. And in the UK, they released this thing on just an EP with just those songs on it. And in America, they were like, okay, we can't do that. America did not want to release this as just a 45. So they were like, oh, hey, haven't the Beatles put together some songs that aren't out yet? Some singles that they haven't released yet? And they were like, oh yeah, so we'll just stick some songs that they haven't put out yet on the end of this thing, which were Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, and All You Need Is Love. And that's how we came to have the Magical Mystery Tour album. It was 7 songs that were meant to be on here, and then 5 more songs that just had to be put on here to complete it, to make it a complete record so that they could sell it to the American market. Because America wasn't on that whole fucking EP shit. Only the UK was. So, still, amazing album from front to back, though. Holy shit, you guys! This is really trippy, really cool. Especially "Strawberry Fields Forever" being one of my all-time favorite Beatles songs. Same thing with "Hello Goodbye." That song is just so fun. And "Your Mother Should Know I Am the Walrus," obviously one of the most trippiest fucking songs ever written. The "Fool on the Hill." Just beautiful instrumentation. They really changed up a whole lot on here. "Revolver," "Sgt. Pepper's," "Magical Mystery Tour," they were on drugs. And you could tell. The music was colorful, it was different, it was out of this world. Just amazing. Just great. Alright, staying once again in the UK, because I just like talking about the UK albums, because it's what's... The UK albums are actually regarded as like the official Beatles releases or whatever. Right here is the White Album. Like I said before, I also have a vinyl copy of this, but it's really shitty. It's a stereo from 1987 once again, or the 1980s. I'm not sure if it's 87. And instead of letting you actually take the stock photos out of the vinyl, they just kind of printed them onto the inner sleeve here. Because originally, when this album first came out on vinyl, these were just separate pictures that you could just take out and hang up on your wall. But for this, they just imprinted them onto the booklet. Like I said, double album, one of the best double albums of all time. There are 30 songs on this one album. And all of them are amazing. Wild Honey Pie is even good on this thing. Revolution 9, as avant-garde and as experimental for the time as it is, Paul McCartney did not want Revolution 9 to end up on this thing. He didn't. He didn't like it, but John Lennon insisted, because John was just, he was into that, you know? This, once again, one of my top 5 albums from the Beatles. I love this thing from front to back. I think it's got a great flow. It's just a great way to look into the window of the Beatles. They decided to go back into being a band again, so they just kind of went back into just writing some fucking songs, you know, and this is the outcome. Amazing collection. Beautiful. I wish I had, like, the serial number, like was on the original releases of this thing. The mono vinyl actually has a serial number on it. The reason the Beatles did that was so that every single copy of the White Album that people had, somebody had one that was just a little bit different. Someone had one that was their number, you know, and I think that's really cool. Guess who owns copy 0000001? Ringo. Ringo has the first copy of the White Album. Can you imagine how fucking much money that shit must be worth? If somebody else in the world had the first copy of the White Album, sell that thing for big bucks. Alright. Going on after that is what I think most people would agree is probably the weakest album, is the Yellow Submarine soundtrack. Only 6 Beatles songs on this thing. The B-side of this is just the orchestral score for the cartoon. This right here is probably the next best Beatles movie, even though, once again, it's not that great. The whole cameo that the Beatles have at the end of the movie is like the best part of it, where they all start singing all together now, which is one of my favorite songs on this thing, apart from Hey Bulldog. Hey Bulldog was actually used in like a competition between John and Paul. Lady Madonna is the song that they were competing against. John was seeing if he could write a better piano song, basically. Hey Bulldog's great. Lady Madonna's great. You know, whatever. They're both amazing songs. You know, it's just a required taste if you care to listen to the orchestral versions. The mono vinyl box set actually has these songs on the Past Masters. The Past Masters is a tiny bit longer. So I'm not sure if I need to get this on vinyl, because the A side of this is going to be remastered on the Past Masters part of the vinyl mono, so I just don't have to have these. But once again, being a B-tard, I'll probably pick it up because I gotta have it. It's gotta complete the set, you know? You gotta have all the stereo albums. Don't feel right. Don't feel right. Oh god. The classic Abbey Road. Once again, another UK release. I guess I should show you the inside of Yellow Submarine before I move on. It's kind of cool. Take out the advent paperwork for albums there. Yeah, there's some pictures of like blue meanies and this shit in there, and stills from the movie. Oh, that's great. It's kind of funny, the Beatles didn't even voice themselves when the movie was first made. It's kind of weird. Anyway, back to Abbey Road. Classic album. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Buckle it. Amazing color photos. There's a bunch of stills of them trying to get the shot. That's really cool. The green. This is the last album that the Beatles recorded together, as Let It Be was shelved. Amazing, from front to back. The whole thing, the medley at the end, come together. Something. Maxwell Silverhammer. You love it, I love it, everybody loves it. It's great. Let's go back to America here right quick so I can mention Yesterday and Today, which has the cover of the Butcher on it. But there, I also have the, there's a picture that you can get. It's them sitting in a trunk. You see, this cover was banned. They first released it like this, the Butcher cover like this, and people got upset because it looked like a bunch of babies' guts everywhere. And so they re-released the album with all of them like sitting in the trunk, sitting in the big suitcase trunk or whatever. And that sticker was on the front of this when I got it, but of course you open up the package and you can take the thing off if you want. And I prefer the Butcher cover. I just like it better. This is one of my favorite, absolute favorite American albums that were released. Drive My Car, I'm Only Sleeping, Nowhere Man, Dr. Robert, Yesterday, Act Naturally, And Your Bird Can Sing, If I Needed Someone, We Can Work It Out, What Goes On, Day Tripper. Just great. I did not, I know people are thinking of this right now, I did not pick up the American version of Revolver because Revolver in America is the exact same as the UK release, except it doesn't have I'm Only Sleeping and Dr. Robert on it. That is the only difference. I preferred not to get that version because why would I want a CD with 2 less songs on it? I'll just listen to my UK Revolver. That's why I don't have that. I need to get it just to complete the American releases, I guess. But I could just stick my UK Revolver in there and it still feel the same. I don't mind listening to Dr. Robert and I'm Only Sleeping Again. I love both of those songs. But anyway, we also have Hey Jude right here. Let's just go ahead and mention this one. Hey Jude, Revolution, Paperback Writer, I Should Have Known Better, Lady Madonna, Can't Buy Me Love, Don't Let Me Down, Ballad of John and Yoko, Rain, Old Brown Shoe, underrated George Harrison song there. Great, it's great. That was the last of the US releases. Here's Let It Be. The last official Beatles album, I guess. 2 of Us, Dig a Pony. The point of this album was to give like that classic live sound. If you watch the Let It Be movie, it can be a little bit boring at times, but it's kind of just showing the Beatles recording an album together. That was kind of the point of the movie. And the soundtrack kind of wanted to reflect that by giving off like a live feel. A whole lot of the songs on this thing were just recorded live and kind of just slightly produced to give it that warm feeling. My vinyl of this really shows that off a lot better than the CD copy, but this is still great as well. It's a little worn down though because I've listened to these fucking things. a lot. I've listened to them a lot. Here's actually a still from the movie when they were recording. They were just rehearsing songs and shit, and there's a copy of them from their rooftop concert. The last appearance from them all together or whatever. Yeah, that's a good picture of them all there. Yeah, just the booklets. The booklets in these 2009 remasters are just great. The sound is great as well. Really full. Alright. Last of the 2009 remasters was this Past Masters here. This is just a huge collection of like singles and songs that didn't make it onto the albums, really. 2 CD set. The folded out sleeves once again. Pictures. You know, just completed the package. You know, just got those songs that weren't released on albums. That was the point of this thing. I can't believe there was a time where there was a Past Masters Volume 1 and 2. That would have sucked. I'm glad you can get them both now in one thing. That drive me crazy. I also have a copy of the Remastered Blue album. This is just a collection of their songs from 1967 to 1970. This was like if you want to hear our greatest hits of the Beatles, like weird psychedelic age, all the way into Let It Be. This goes from like Sgt. Pepper all the way to Let It Be. Anything before you have to get the Red album, which I have on vinyl. So you know, that's great. I don't listen to those a whole lot because I prefer just to listen to the albums. You know, I feel the same way about the Yellow Submarine song track. This right here is my personal version of the Yellow Submarine soundtrack because it has nothing but Beatles songs on it. Just an amazing compilation of, once again, like a kind of a psychedelic Beatles songs. It has all of the songs that are on the normal Yellow Submarine soundtrack, but you know, it's not. This is not a part of the official lineup of the UK releases of the original 13 albums. I just got it because I love the compilation of songs on this thing. I actually found this on vinyl today. I was thinking about using this to replace my the version that I need to get to complete all of the albums on vinyl. I'm not sure if that counts or not, but whatever. This is a great compilation. Amazing. I also have a copy of 1, but really, if you're a true fan, you are not going to listen to this that much. You are going to get sick of listening to these songs over and over again. This is just like that freaking Gorillaz singles collection and international super hits from Green Day. You want to hear some deep cuts. If you're a true Beatles fan, Green Day fan, Gorillaz fan, you're going to want to listen to more than just the damn singles. Granted, there are a shit ton of songs on this thing, 27 songs on this CD, but still, it's all of the huge-ass hits, you know? And I like my Beatles deep cuts. You know, I like my deep cuts. I also have a copy of Love, the show that they do in Vegas. This was really, really crazy to listen to. This is actually one of the first Beatles albums I ever got, so there was a few songs I didn't know. There was a time in my life where I thought Drive My Car, the word, and What You're Doing was the actual fucking song. How stupid was I? This was literally one of the first albums I ever got back when I didn't know shit about the Beatles. But now that I know every single song, listening to this thing is actually quite a treat, just like trying to pick out like what chord melody goes with what song when it's mixed in with some other song. It's just really crazy to listen to. They did a phenomenal job with this. I would love to see the show. I have to go to Las Vegas for that, but I'm glad to own this for sure. I'll go get my vinyls now. I don't own very much Beatles vinyl. I'm hoping to change that, like I said, during Christmas, or if I can ever get the Beatles in mono vinyl box set as soon as possible. There will be an unboxing of that. and it will be awesome. This is the White Album. This is very, very old. Like I said, it does not include, sadly, the photos. It would have if I didn't get this used, but these would have been like separate glossy photos. But still, I listen to this thing from time to time. It's still really great. It comes in like these really shitty ass fucking protective plastic sleeves, which I'm sure were just stuck in there for no reason. Like a rainbow capital label on it. They both look the same. I do like the rainbow label. It's really pretty. It looks good when it's spinning. Slide this back in here carefully. Camera might be shaking a little bit. This is the Red Album, like I mentioned. Little Blue Album, Big Red Album. This is the hits from 62 to 66. Basically, their earlier days all the way to the psychedelic days, the best hits. My dad actually owned this when he was a little kid, and he gave it to me. So that's how I came upon this thing. Amazing photo right there with a bunch of kids with them looking through our fence. Side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. That's really cool. We'll just go ahead and take a quick look. The lyrics are printed on the inner sleeve. Just a really kind of a crappy blue capital label. It's fine, though. It spins. Really light vinyl. You know, you get used to this 180 gram vinyl, and this shit feels really weird. Feels really light, you know. Fragile, but you know, they're really old, so gotta take care of that shit. But not so much anymore, because the other two pieces of vinyl that I have are from the 2009 remasters. This is a 2009 remaster of the Beatles Abbey Road in stereo, on vinyl just the same as the CD copy. But it's okay, because I'm only getting these because the mono box set, the Beatles only recorded in mono all the way up to after the White Album. After the White Album, the Beatles started recording exclusively in stereo, and this right here was the first album where that happened, where they just recorded in stereo. Once again, they did a really good job on these 2009 remasters by replicating the labels. Apple label, full apple on the front, half apple on the B side. Amazing album. I love listening to it on vinyl more than I do on the CD, but you know, I do what I have to. Be really careful. I also really like the black inner sleeve. It looks really good. And this is my Let It Be. So, you know, if I just get a copy of the Yellow Submarine soundtrack or the Yellow Submarine song track, I might get this to replace that, I'm not sure. This has a white inner sleeve with, once again, full apple on the front, or A side, and half apple on the B side. Amazing album, once again. You know, I just I bought these two so that I can complete the collection if I'm ever able to get the Beatles albums in mono. I did this because I'm officially going to be listening to the Beatles the way that the Beatles intended them to be listened to. John Lennon once said that if you have not heard Sgt. Pepper's in mono, then you have yet to hear Sgt. Pepper's the way it was intended. So I am looking forward to those days. I know you can hear it on YouTube right now, but I want to hear it through the sound of spinning wax, baby. So anyway, that is my Beatles collection. Basically, all of the CDs and LPs and all that shit. So I hope you found this entertaining. I know I sure as hell did. I'm a crazy ass Beatles fan, and I finally got to express my love clearly to you guys. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and like I said, eventually, a few months from now, we'll be doing an unboxing of the mono box set because I'm a crazy ass fan, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Keep listening to the Beatles. Get everything. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Mr. Money 1235 out.